it's Jen. So as I was doing my meditation practice today and I was listening to that still quiet voice within, I had this inkling of just wondering about society and psychotherapy and how they fit together. And I started thinking about Freud, of course, right? The father of modern psychotherapy. And back in the 19th century in Victorian society, he thought that neuroses had to do with sexuality and aggression, and that suppressing these was what made people crazy, especially women, right? Made them hysterical. And it's interesting because Victorian society we think of usually as very prudish, but really they weren't. They were hypocritical because they had this veneer of respectable society with this underbelly of prostitution and pornography. Does that sound familiar? Here we are, over a century later, and we still have this veneer of, the Instagram family, the perfect Facebook meal. And yet there is an underbelly of what? Well, fill in the blank, depending on which side of the fence you're on. But what I was thinking about more so was that how we more openly express sexuality and aggression in our society today, and yet our society is more confused. Men and women, or the roles of men and women, are more ambiguous. The structures are less fixed. And there are so many social changes that have happened over the last century in child raising, the stability of home life. Things are very shaken up. There is a lack of structure. And so it's no wonder that just like the women of Freud's day who were thought to be hysterical, there are women in our society today who are thought to be crazy. And this is usually associated with borderline personality disorder. And especially with women's shifting roles, it creates identity problems. And that is a marker of borderline. We have a culture of narcissism. It's not that there are narcissists, although I love that people throw that word around. He's a narcissist, she's a narcissist. We have some very famous, very public examples of that recently. But it's a societal issue, narcissism. It also plays into the borderline traits that people are starting to show more and more in our culture. And I was reading that culture is often reproduced in the individual. So we have this individual who is socialized to their culture. So if we have a culture of narcissism, then we're being socialized to be narcissist. If we have a culture that is saying, it doesn't matter what role you take as a man or a woman, a mom or a dad, straight, gay, trans, whatever it is, it's very malleable, it's very flexible. Structures have crumbled. Then these traits are going to be elicited by these popular social conditions. And so just as the hysterics of Freud's day, were thought to have symptoms coming from sexual repression, the borderline of today has symptoms that come from the fracturing of society. And so I would encourage you to rethink your ideas about mental health and mental illness, not as an individual problem that needs to be dealt with individuals, the patient, the problem child in the family, but as a societal issue. That if we really want to address mental health concerns, that we have to do it at the societal level. And yes, it's societal, it's communal, it's familial, it is individual. But the more that we can gain perspective and context, the better off everyone will be. Those that suffer from mental health issues and those that support them, such as your local therapist. So I'd say if you really want to know what's going on in society, ask a therapist.